Alright, so this is just the calculus part that you should have got here from the physics, and I'm going to break this down. So very first thing, I multiply these two together to get this. I multiply by these two together to get that. And the next thing I do is that, let's see. Yeah, that's what I do. And then after that, I multiply the bottom, this together by sine. And then I square the entire bottom, as you see, because there's a square on the outside, so I square the top, and I square the bottom, and then I square the sine, but I move this sine to be 1 over sine squared. So then I took 5.4 and squared it, 0.48 and squared it, got this right here, left the 1 over sine squared outside, and then I simply just took this, did the math, gives you that, gives you this number right here, 29 point whatever divided by 0.23 something, and then times sine theta squared, didn't change that, and then I just put these back together, from this to that, and then, oh, I actually didn't change anything between these 2 points. So then I multiplied this 0.24 by this 126.5625, gave me about 30.375 cosine over, and the bottom has not changed, sine theta squared. So then I subtract 31 from both sides, gives you 0. And now we're stuck with this number. And now we have to think, if this divided by sine theta squared equals 0, then the top has to equal 0. The reasoning is 0 divided by anything, regardless what sine theta 0 is 0. So the top has to equal 0. So we can drop the sine theta squared. That's the reason why I separated it, by the way. And then we can make this 30.375 cosine theta minus 31 sine theta squared equals 0. So now we have to remember from calculus that 1 minus cosine theta squared equals sine theta squared. This is the only thing explicitly from calculus you actually need to remember. So in this equation up here, replace every sine theta squared with 1 minus cosine theta squared. Why we're doing this? So we have all cosine thetas. So then this equation, once we replace the sine theta squares, turns into minus 31 1 minus cosine theta squared. This just got turned into that, equals 0. So then I expand it. This stays the same. The minus 31 goes with this 1. 31 times 1 is just 31. And then 31 cosine squared. The reason why this is plus here is because of this minus sign right here. So this negative turns into a positive. 31 cosine theta squared equals 0. So now let's turn this into an ax squared plus bx plus c format. Think of the theta as almost like an x. It's a variable. We don't know what it is. So we turn it into 31 cosine theta squared plus 30.37 cosine theta minus 31 equals 0. So then remember the quadratic formula. A is 31, B is 30.37, C is just negative 31. You could easily get that from this. Then you plug it into the quadratic formula, and this is what you should get. This is the b squared, this is the 4ac. The reason why it's plus because there's a minus sign here. And the results are that theta is either equal to this or that. Now recall the important line that I said. This whole entire time we have to remember we were finding cosine theta. Now we know what theta is. So to get the angle we need to put arc, cosine, and the two thetas and see which one's possible. As it turns out, arc cosine negative 1.60 1.603, blah, blah, blah. It does not exist. I don't think any negative cosines exist over 1. So, and if you do arc cosine this number, you get the answer of 51.417 degrees. And that is the correct answer. So you can see